Okay, so let's talk about alcohol now and how alcohol relates to weight gain or weight maintenance, I should say. Alcohol seems to be a huge part of the running culture, and a lot of us belong to social running groups where we go and we meet for drinks afterwards, or we have social parties on the weekends with our running club, and it's a big part of it for many of us. Not for all of us, but for many of us. So let's talk about how that affects our weight maintenance goals. Share my screen with you again. So like I said, this is probably a familiar scene for a lot of us. After our runs, we go meet up with our running buddies for a couple beers, or we go on a trip to a winery and go wine tasting. Alcohol and running tend to, in many situations, go hand in hand. But what about its influence on weight gain? That's what we're going to touch on. So weight and alcohol. Basically, alcohol is pretty much empty calories. There's not a lot of nutrition in alcohol, as some people like to joke around with me and say, oh, there's carbs in beer because it's made from hops. But overall, it's been processed enough not to have much nutrition. We can get into the nitty gritty, but overall it's empty calories. So for, a darker beer, you're talking 200, 250 calories with no nutrition value. For a lighter beer, maybe 90 to 150. Glass of wine, same thing, 90 to 120. So we're talking about, for a couple drinks in an outing, you could be upwards of 1,000 calories and all empty calories. So that's the first thing off the top of my mind, is that it's calories that we're not utilizing. It's just extra calories. And a lot of times the alcohol goes not straight to storage. It's a little different than carbohydrate. Excess carbohydrate can go straight to fat storage. Excess alcohol doesn't necessarily go straight to fat storage, but what it does do is it turns off the fat burning signal. So say we're going for a run, we're meeting up with our friends, we're going for an 8-mile run, and then we're going to go get some beers afterwards. Our metabolism is still pretty revved up after their run. So we're drinking some beers and we're burning through that. But what we're doing is, instead of taking that opportunity and burning some fat to help us recover, we've turned that off. So now we're just burning through those beers that we're drinking and maybe that food that we're drinking, that we're eating with it, instead of burning that fat to help with weight maintenance and also recovery. So there's one thing to consider right off the top. And alcohol does dehydrate us. So obviously 1 or 2 drinks isn't going to cause too much dehydration, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 will dehydrate us. It also causes some nausea, as we know, and some headaches due to the dehydration, and that's how we know that it affects that. And we also know from a couple of slides previous is that dehydration can lead to excess eating, and that's another factor that plays into this. See, it's all a little interrelated. And we also know that our appetite increases when we eat, and whether that's due to dehydration or not, it does decrease some of our thinking in terms of making healthy choices. And sometimes that increase in appetite and our decrease in ability to make healthy choices, ends up making us eat cheese fries instead of a salad. So if you get what I'm saying, we're making some unhealthy choices when we're eating. And it's also a little bit the environment that we're in. If we're at a bar, there's bar food, and we tend to kind of just eat that instead of sticking with our healthy choices and our healthy goals. But weight gain with alcohol comes with metabolic factors. So alcohol does decrease our metabolism to a degree because it is turning off that fat burning signal. And there was a study that I wanted to just help you understand this in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And it was a study on fat metabolism. And what they did was they measured the metabolism of after 2 drinks. And when they measured the metabolic metabolism, is really fat oxidation. That's how they measure it. So when they were measuring fat oxidation, and in this study, it was named whole body lipid oxidation, it decreased 73% after just 2 drinks. They used vodka in this particular study, but other studies have studied similar oxidation, and similar results. They found similar results in decrease of lipid oxidation after consumption of alcohol. So that kind of proves to us that we're turning off our body's ability to burn fat. And for someone who's drinking every once in a while, this isn't really a big deal. But for someone who's going out and drinking a couple times a week, or having a couple of beers every night with dinner, or socially drinking a little bit more than they feel is necessary, then over time, chronically, this is going to assist in weight gain. Alcohol basically does help you, assist you gaining fat weight. So we're not talking about muscle mass, we're talking about fat. And that's the weight we don't want to gain. Muscle mass I can deal with. Fat will slow down your running, slow down your pace. Overall, it's going to make your heart rate spike, because the more fat weight you have on your body, the harder your heart has to work when you are running. So that's another issue. Your heart rate's going to be affected by that also. And obviously, weight gain, I know we're all pretty vain and we don't want to gain too much weight because we don't want to look different. But really the health effects and the performance effects of chronic alcohol use and high quantities, and like I'm not saying social 1 or 2 drinks, but again, 3, 4, 5, 6 drinks on a chronic basis a couple times a week is something you want to stay away from if you're worried about gaining weight. And if you are gaining weight and you want to, keep your alcohol in check for a little while and see if that helps you lose that excess weight, that's a great way to gauge whether it's affecting your particular body or not. So I'm going to close up our little talk, and I hope that I was helpful, and hope that I just gave you a couple things to think about in your own diet and your own weight loss attempts and journey. But basically, if I was to sum it up, I would just say, don't out eat or run. Just make sure that you're not out eating the mileage that you're putting in. And that is a combination of being mindful. So just being mindful of what you're putting into your body versus what you're expending. So, you don't want to go out for 3 cheeseburgers when you just did a 3-mile easy run. 3 cheeseburgers you might want to save for after marathon day or something like that. Balance that all out. And balance is the second explanation I would really just pop into your head is just keep it all balanced. Balance your running with your eating, and then everything kind of works out. And then the last thing is a smart training plan. So aside from nutrition, which is probably your most important thing to consider when you're trying to lose weight or trying to manage your weight, and then training is next. So you, just like you can't out eat or run, you also have to have a smart training plan. So don't overrun your training plan. Overrunning is going to create a lot of problems with inflammation, with hunger, with metabolism, as we just discussed. So between having a smart training plan, keeping it all in balance, and being mindful of what you're consuming, you should manage your weight pretty well, and it should enhance your training and not hurt it. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and get out there and have a great run. Bye-bye.